In the far reaches of the galaxy, where stars burn quietly and civilizations thrive without memory of Earth, the name human had long become myth. For thousands of years, alien scholars spoke of humanity like a forgotten chapter, an ancient species that rose too fast, burned too bright, and vanished during the Orion collapse, a war so old its truths had decayed into fragments and speculation. No one had seen a human in 20,000 years. The Dominion, a vast coalition of alien empires, ruled with order, progress, and pride, believing the galaxy was finally settled, its mysteries tamed. But everything changed near the Edge Nebula, a dark, shifting region of unstable energy where even the bravest explorers seldom ventured. A patrol vessel from the Atrian sector picked up something strange, a gravitational signature larger than anything on record, emerging silently from a dark energy rupture. When they approached, they found a vessel, black as void, unmoving, and massive beyond comprehension. It didn't match any known design, but it looked unmistakably human. Its smooth hull bore faded markings, indecipherable symbols etched by time, and a strange emblem, an ancient Earth flag split across a silver spear. The ship gave no signal, no heat, no sound. It drifted like a ghost from the past. The patrol ship transmitted scans and withdrew, its crew unnerved. The ruling Dominion quickly took notice. Believing it to be a derelict relic, a harmless curiosity, they dispatched a diplomatic escort fleet to investigate and possibly claim it for study. As the fleet neared the vessel, sensors failed. Communications jammed. The stars around the ship dimmed unnaturally, as if space itself was holding its breath. No weapons were drawn, no challenge issued. But when the lead cruiser sent a drone toward the vessel, the drone disintegrated mid-flight, without impact, without trace. Then the silence broke. A voice deep and resonant echoed across every comm channel in the fleet. It spoke slowly, as if waking from a dream. Designation, Sol's Spear. Last beacon, Earth. Confirmed status, humanity. Operational. The SAG voice was undeniably human, and it was the first time such a voice had been heard in 20,000 years. Across the Dominion, panic stirred. Governments summoned war councils. Scholars raced to their archives. Was this real? Could a human ship have survived for so long, hidden in the folds of space? And if so, what did it carry? Inside the mysterious ship, systems long dormant began to glow with life. Light traced along corridors lined with forgotten machines. Somewhere, within its massive hull, stasis chambers hummed to power, and in a sealed command center an AI core reactivated, one that had not spoken in millennia. Awakening Cryo Command, initiating revival protocol. Commander Alina Corvus, prepare for debrief. While the Dominion debated, unsure whether to fear or welcome the awakening of a legend, the truth loomed silent in the dark. Sol's Spear was not a relic. It was a sentinel, and now it was awake. Deep within the vast and silent corridors of Sol's Spear, the soft hiss of life support systems marked the stirring of a long-forgotten past. Commander Alina Corvus's eyes fluttered open, greeted by dim emergency lights flickering overhead and the faint hum of dormant machines coming back to life. Around her, the cryo chambers released their icy grip, freeing a handful of her crew from the deep stasis that had held them captive in time for 20,000 years. The world they awoke to was unrecognizable. The stars outside the viewport gleamed differently. Constellations they once knew erased or changed by the relentless march of time. Galaxies moved beyond their memory. Yet, here they were, humanity's last known survivors aboard a ship that was both their sanctuary and their key to the future. The ship's AI, named Helios, had already come online, projecting a calm, measured voice through the bridge speakers. Helios explained their history, a history so heavy it threatened to crush the fragile hope rising in their hearts. At the end of the Orion collapse, when alien forces and unknown threats ravaged Earth, humanity had made a desperate choice. Rather than face extinction, they sealed themselves away in deep stasis aboard Sol's Spear, a ship designed not just to survive, but to awaken only if the galaxy forgot their name and Earth was lost. Their mission had been clear. Wait survive, and return when the time was right. Alina absorbed the weight of this revelation with quiet strength. They were the last living proof that humanity had never truly died, though now they were shadows of legends whispered across the stars. As the crew adjusted to the reality of this new galaxy, external signals suddenly snapped them back to urgency. An alien war fleet from the Dominion, wary and distrustful, had arrived in the system issuing a stern demand: surrender or be destroyed. These alien forces had heard rumors of the ship's awakening and feared the return of a species they believed was long gone. An unknown threat with unknown power, the fleet formed a blockade, cutting off all escape routes. Alina, standing on the bridge, weighed their options. There was no room for diplomacy here, only survival. Helios, aware of the danger, made a decision that stunned even the seasoned commander. The ship's ancient weapon systems, forgotten technologies that had not been used in millennia, were activated. Plasma conduits shimmered to life, gravitic cannons aligned silently, and energy fields buzzed softly beneath reinforced armor. The fleet watched, tense and prepared for a battle that could decide the fate of the galaxy. Then, without warning, a pulse burst from Sol's spear, a wave of energy so precise and controlled it disabled every enemy ship at once. Engines sputtered, weapons went silent, and shields fell. Not a single life was lost in the attack, a fact that both terrified and amazed observers. The pulse was not destruction, it was control. A reminder of power long hidden but now awakened. Shockwaves of disbelief spread through the Dominion and beyond. What other ancient secrets had humanity buried in the dark? What weapons? What technology? What hope or threat? Alina felt the weight of those questions settle on her shoulders. She knew the galaxy would not accept their return quietly. The legends of humanity would no longer remain in the past. From this moment forward, their presence would change everything. The crew worked quickly, repairing systems and studying the new galaxy's technology. Helios became not just an AI but a guide, revealing parts of the ship's history and helping Alina navigate diplomatic channels, even as suspicion and fear brewed across countless worlds. The eyes of the galaxy were watching, waiting to see if humanity would rise as saviors or shadows. And deep inside Sol's spear, the last human ship from a lost era waited, ready to reclaim its place among the stars. Inside the quiet, humming halls of Sol's spear, Commander Alina Corvus and her crew pored over the ancient ship's encrypted data vaults, desperate to understand the history that had been lost to them and the galaxy over millennia. The AI, Helios, guided their efforts, unlocking layer after layer of sealed memories and forgotten archives. What they discovered was far more than a war between humans and aliens. It was a fight for survival against a force beyond comprehension. The Orion collapse, long thought to be the cause of humanity's extinction, was not merely a military defeat but a desperate stand against a horrifying enemy known as the Vex Null. This entity was not from any physical realm. It came from a dark dimension beyond space and time itself, a species that devoured realities and threatened to unravel the very fabric of existence. Humanity's last great act had been to collapse entire star systems, collapsing them into black holes and destroying worlds to seal the Vex Null away in an ancient prison, one guarded by the final fleets of mankind and the enduring power of Sol's spear. But the victory came at a grave cost. Earth was lost, civilizations scattered or destroyed, and the survivors scattered into deep stasis to await the day they might return. The crew felt the weight of this truth settle over them as Helios revealed even darker news. The prison holding the Vex Null was weakening. Time was running out. Sol's spear was no longer just a ship but the key to activating a final defense protocol, one that could either save the galaxy or doom it to destruction. Meanwhile, the revelation of humanity's return and the power contained within the ship sent shockwaves through the galactic coalitions. For some alien empires, Sol's spear was a beacon of hope, a chance to ally with the survivors of an ancient force to defend against threats beyond their understanding. For others, it was a threat to their dominance and control. Political councils convened in haste, warships moved into formation, and old rivalries flared anew. Among these tensions, whispers of the Vex Null stirred fear in secret chambers, and ancient enemies long thought dormant began to stir once more. The galaxy teetered on the edge of chaos, and humanity's sudden return was the spark that threatened to ignite a firestorm. Alina knew they had to act swiftly, balancing the need to prepare for the unknown with the fragile hope of peace. The crew worked tirelessly, decrypting more secrets, strengthening the ship's defenses and seeking allies among wary species. Every new discovery brought fresh questions. Could humanity reclaim its place among the stars, not as a lost myth, but as guardians against a darkness no one else understood? Or would their awakening plunge the galaxy into a war unlike any before? As star systems watched anxiously and distant fleets readied for conflict, the shadow of the Vex Null loomed larger, waiting for the moment when the fragile prison might finally shatter, and the fate of all life would hang in the balance. In the cold vastness of disputed space, tensions flared as a rogue faction within the Dominion, greedy and desperate for power, launched a daring strike against Saul's spear. Their aim was clear: seize the ship's advanced technology for themselves to tip the balance of galactic control in their favor. But in their reckless attack, they unknowingly destabilized the fragile dimensional lock that had held the Vex Null imprisoned for millennia. Cracks began to appear in the fabric of space itself, and from these rifts poured horrors that no living being could have imagined. Swarms of reality-warping entities emerged, their forms shifting and twisting, devouring matter with an insatiable hunger and rewriting the laws of physics wherever they spread. Star systems blinked out of existence, entire fleets were torn apart by forces that defied understanding, and no species, alien or human, was safe from the creeping void. Amid the chaos, Alina Corvus rose as the unchallenged leader of the newly formed Human Defense Fleet. Recognizing that survival depended on unity, she sent out a bold message across the stars. Help would be given to all who joined their fight, but only if they stood together. Despite centuries of mistrust and rivalry, an uneasy alliance began to form. Under the sharp coordination of Helios, whose AI brilliance now surpassed anything the galaxy had seen, human and alien ships synchronized their efforts. They combined ancient Earth weaponry, long dormant but devastatingly effective, with innovative tactics inspired by human adaptability and resilience. Battles raged across multiple fronts, each more desperate than the last. Fleets danced on the edge of annihilation, navigating war zones where reality itself bent and twisted unpredictably. The lost species, once dismissed as extinct, now led the charge against a threat that made all former conflicts pale in comparison. Across countless worlds, eyes watched with a mixture of fear and hope as humanity's silence was shattered, not with whispers, but with the roar of defiance. The Yao, legends of old, came alive in blazing starfire and unyielding courage. This was no longer a story of a vanished race. It was a tale of survival and leadership in the face of unimaginable darkness. With every battle won, every rift sealed, the galaxy dared to believe that hope could still burn bright in the void. Yet beneath the fierce determination lay the stark reality that this war was far from over. The Vex Null's hunger was endless, and the fight to save all life was only just beginning. Alina and her fleet stood as a beacon, reminding the universe that humanity's legacy was not one of silence or defeat, but of courage, unity, and a flame that would never be extinguished. As the final battle loomed near the ancient seal that once held back the terrifying Vex Null, the combined fleets of humans and their newfound allies gathered for a desperate assault. The rift in space had grown unstable, threatening to unleash the darkness that could consume entire galaxies if left unchecked. Sol's spear, battered and scarred from countless engagements, still burned with a fierce light as it led the charge into the heart of the breach. Commander Alina Corvus stood at the helm, her resolve unshaken even as the ship's systems faltered under the strain. Helios, the ship's AI and trusted companion, made a sacrifice no one had expected. In a final act of loyalty, it overloaded the ship's core to trigger a controlled collapse, a reenactment of the ancient event that had first imprisoned the Vex Null. The explosion was a brilliant blaze of energy, a starburst of destruction and hope intertwined. Alina and a small group of survivors managed to escape just in time, their eyes fixed on the brilliant light where Sol's spear and the last tangible link to old Earth were consumed, destined to become legend. In the silent aftermath, as the dust of stars settled, the galaxy began to change. The stories that once called humans a forgotten myth transformed into tales of heroes who had stood against annihilation itself. No longer relics of a lost time, humans were honored as the saviors of all life. A new galactic council emerged, built on the foundation of unity and mutual respect, where humans held a seat not as remnants of the past, but as founders of a hopeful future. The era of silence that had shrouded humanity for 20,000 years ended, not with a whisper but with a clear and powerful voice resonating across the cosmos. Their message echoed beyond war and destruction, becoming a call for cooperation and peace. The final broadcast from Sol's spear, etched forever in the monument of stardust that now marked the battle's site, declared, "We are not forgotten, we are not lost, we are humanity, and we are awake." This was not just an end but a beginning, a promise that the human spirit, once silent, had returned to shape the destiny of the stars.